I just did. Okay, so to recap, I'm apparently aging decades by the minute while in quarantine because I think I just talked to myself for like 10 minutes while I was making this. So to catch you up on what me, myself, and I have already been talking about, I made marinara. I took 28 ounces of crushed tomatoes, 28 ounces of diced tomatoes, 6 ounces of tomato paste, 2 teaspoons oregano, a teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of basil, about half a teaspoonful of black pepper, a teaspoon and a half of coarse salt, and a cup of good big red wine. This case is Roja. I use Zinfandel, Cabernet Sauvignon, really whatever looks good. I have got it, oh, 1 bay leaf as well. I have got it over medium heat, bringing it up to temperature so that it's going to boil. And then I'm going to turn it down to a lower temperature so that it can simmer, because it's going to be hanging out for a little while I'm doing meatballs, which hopefully will work on the other counter where I've got everything set up. And this looks like, I don't know if you can see it, looks like it's getting hot. It smells amazing. So I'm just going to give it a little stir. It's getting really hot. And don't want it to burn while I'm doing other stuff. Usually I get petite diced tomatoes, especially if I'm going to use it as a sauce. Like I'm going to use this with the meatball sub tonight, but they didn't have that because current times. So you have to get what you can get, and I'll just hit it with, depending on how crazy it's looking, either the immersion blender or a chopper, or if it gets hot enough, just squish them down really well. But I think that's going to be good for the moment. It's starting to bubble. And turn it down. Okay, turn it down to low heat. And now I'm going to try to get this set up on the other side of the kitchen so I can do the meatballs. Okay. And I have not done a trial on this, but I'll attempt to do my very best to show you what I'm doing. I took a big pan, coated it in aluminum foil and cooking spray. I forgot to preheat the oven, so I'm going to do that real quick. Okay, oven is preheated to 350. I have 2 pounds of ground chicken. The recipe calls for 1 pound, but most recipes are for 4 people. I have 5 people in our family, including 3 teenagers. Plus, my theory is if you're going to do meatballs and you're going to go through the trouble of putting all this stuff together, why not do enough to do double? Then you can enjoy them for a longer time, or you can eat yourself silly on them. Okay, so I've got the 2 pounds of ground chicken. Hi, Crystal. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Uncle Harold. Miss Sneed. 2 pounds of ground chicken. And I grated zucchini before I even started the video, which is good, or we would still be here grating zucchini. They say to do it on a really fine grate, which I did, and I'll show you what it looks like. This is what I ended up with. You can see that. This is 2 cups of zucchini, and it was about 2 medium smallish size zucchini. I'll show you what they look like. And yes, I know you know what zucchini looks like, but this is about what size they were. So, all I did was put a couple of paper towels in the bottom of a colander, put the zucchini in, sprinkle a little bit of salt on top, and I'm going to squish some liquid out of it to try to make sure that it's as dry as possible. All right, let's get to the good stuff. Okay, so I've got my chicken. I'm going to add breadcrumbs. It calls for panko breadcrumbs, but right now those have been hard to come by, at least when I've looked in the grocery store. So I had a teeny little bit of plain panko breadcrumbs left, and I had just some regular seasoned breadcrumbs made with Romano cheese, garlic, and onion. Bigger flavor, sounds good to me. So I'm just going to supplement with that. Also, we will need grated Parmesan, garlic, and y'all, seriously, I used to love squishing the garlic cloves and then chopping them all up, and it felt really official and awesome. And then I have 3 children, and now I buy the minced garlic in a jar. And I know I'm probably getting something from some terrible place, but I just use it with a teaspoon. It's super easy, and I figure it's all going to come out in the wash. I'm cooking it anyway. And 2 eggs. Shout out to my friend Jenny, because these are from her hens, and she has kept me in fresh eggs while I have been home and baking and cooking like a maniac. All right. I'm going to let that zucchini drain just a little bit, but I'm going to need, and I got to be honest with you, I think it says ½ a cup of panko. Somehow in the copying of this, it has gotten smaller as time has gone on. So, yeah, we're just going to guess. Might be 1/3 of a cup, might be ½ a cup. We're going to figure it out. All right, a ½ a cup scoop. I'm going to, yeah, I have about a ½ a cup of the panko, so I'll just add that one. So we'll have half panko. Or who knows, maybe more than half. Maybe more than half. This is what we're doing now. We are having adventures by doing things silly, like ½ a cup of these breadcrumbs with all the big flavor in it. We're doing silly things like guessing at recipes and making it all come out in the wash. We'll figure it out. Okay. Now, I'm going to add, it looks like the same amount of Parmesan cheese as the breadcrumbs. I say there should be at least an equal amount of cheese to bread. So, if I misread the first one, I guess I'll misread the second one, and we'll just get it all done. If I can even get the stupid thing open. Alright. This is where my Uncle Alan would say, you gotta be smarter than what you're working with, and he would be right. Okay, nothing crazy, just Parmesan cheese. So I'm going to add, yeah, that looks good. Almost the entire little container of it, but not quite. Okay, so we've added the Parmesan, we've added breadcrumbs. Now I'm going to look and see what else we do here. Oh, garlic. It calls for 2 cloves of garlic. We already established I'm not going to be getting out some humongous knife and squishing it. I'm just going to be getting my measuring spoon here, and I'm going to be measuring out some minced garlic out of this very handy jar. ½ a teaspoon is about 1 clove, so I need 4 cloves, so that would be 2 teaspoons. Now, it calls for fresh parsley. I do not have fresh parsley. I know. It seems rather tragic, but I don't. So, what I'm going to do is get my handy dried parsley and just adjust the amount because it's dried instead of fresh. Okay, parsley flakes. It calls for a tablespoon of chopped fresh parsley. So what I've always been told is it's about the same amount but in teaspoons. So instead of a tablespoon, I'm going to do a teaspoon. This is a ½ teaspoon measuring. So about a teaspoon. That hardly seems worth it, but there you have it. And what else are we putting in here? Basil and crushed red pepper. Which reminds me, I didn't put the crushed red pepper in my sauce, so we'll add some of that. Alright, it calls for 2 teaspoons of the dried basil, which would mean 4. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, 4. I have to count out loud now or I lose track. And this is a 1/4 teaspoon crushed red pepper. And I'll tell you, you can get, let's not do more first, let's actually do crushed red pepper. You can get a lot, well, you can get enough of this pepper that you don't really realize it, then you take a bite into a meatball and you are lit up. So I'm going to make sure that it is just 1/2 teaspoon of red pepper. So really didn't do anything crazy there. All right, I'm going to squeeze out the zucchini, which is probably going to be a mess, but I'll show you what it looks like anyway. Okay. Here's my zucchini, and I'm going to literally just take the paper towels and fold over it, and then put it down to the sink and squeeze. And I'm getting actually a lot of liquid out of it. I had to wear one of my favorite t-shirts today because Friday and pandemic. It says coffee and grace because adulting is hard. Okay. Zucchini is great, but I think the stuff is like 80% water. So when you're cooking with it, especially baking with it or doing something that has to stay together like a meatball, it's really a mess unless you get it very squeezed out. And this is, we're probably going to be scraping this out of paper towel for days. See what it looks like. I'm just squeezing it in the paper towel. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to see if I can't coax this out of the paper towel so we can do the meatballs with it. Okay, that is way less feeling like it's up in my grill work. Okay, here we go. See, drier. Hopefully dry-est, dry enough. I'm gonna put it in there. All right. Yeah. Okay. The last thing we have to add is eggs, and of course I left my measuring cup on the other side of the room, but maybe that's some crack it egg into it. Okay, get our eggs in here. I love fresh eggs. It tickles me to get them off the counter. Undo them. Wash them up. Okay. Now, I'm going to mix all of this together. And I can try to show you. It's just a hot mess in there. Hey Elizabeth, I honestly think that the place where I got this shirt is out of business now, which makes me sad to say, but I feel like maybe somebody else probably has done this Grace and Coffee thing. Maybe it wasn't just her who did it, so maybe if you Googled it, you could find it. And the zucchini actually wasn't just some great healthy idea, it was called for in the recipe, and I will post the recipe just as soon as I get a little further along here. But this is the part where you realize you probably should have gotten a bigger bowl. So I'm going to try to do this without it really being 3D and coming up into the camera. But it's going to look pretty fun. Got a lot of colors going on in there. A lot of smells. It smells good. I think I might want to actually keep the seasoned breadcrumbs instead of just the plain panko. I don't know, panko always sounds like fancy, but sometimes the seasoned stuff does the job very well. Okay, after I get this stuff all mixed together, It says that the original recipe forms about 20 meatballs and you bake them. So I am going to do that. I'm going to stand here and I'm going to make all the little meatballs and then put them in the oven to bake. And the dish that I'm doing is a recipe that my mom found and we had at the beach one year. It was so good. And of course she got all the grandkids to help her make the meatballs because she's brilliant like that. But what ended up, I love meatball subs, but I don't always want to splurge on the calories for all the beef, the pork, whatever. Chicken felt so much healthier, as did zucchini on top of that. And every now and then you just have to have a good meatball dish. We've had these just in my marinara sauce over pasta. We had eaten these plain on a plate. My neighbor took the recipe and she made them into burgers that they grilled. I don't remember if she said grill pan or ungrilled, doesn't matter, but they did. And they had them as burgers and she said they were amazing. So I've almost got this mixed up to the point where I can at least show you the size of the meatballs that I'm going to make. Although, let's be honest, it doesn't really matter. You make the size you want to make. Then if you're really interested in the nutrition information, you can kind of extrapolate. I think I usually make them a little smaller because we're doing them on sub rolls, and the sub rolls actually aren't huge. So I didn't want it to be where I couldn't even bite into it because the meatball was so big. All right.
I don't know, we probably could.
Now, I've got it looking like that. And I think I'm looking to see if it says, yes, it actually gives you the instruction to shape it by rounded tablespoons. So I'm probably going to eyeball it because all of my measuring spoons are so big. Oh, actually, now that I've said that, I'll probably just use that one. And I'm going to eyeball it though to see if I'm going to do it a little bit smaller or a little bit bigger or somewhere in the middle of that. And they only have to bake about 25 minutes. So, I'll just show you what one of them looks like here. Do you ever have that experience where you get to the end of a recipe and you have to go back and look to make sure you added everything? So I'm going back and make sure I added everything. See, it's got zucchini, chicken, egg, panko, Parmesan cheese, garlic, parsley, basil, and crushed red pepper. Check. Done. Okay. All right. This is a packed tablespoonful. I'm going to show you how big this one is. And I'll see if I want to do it a little bit bigger or smaller. Yeah. Actually, that's probably the size I'm going to do tonight. All that talk about size of meatballs, then I totally just went with what they said on the paper. Because that's what we're doing these days. Okay. I did not add my crushed red pepper to the marinara sauce. And I'm realizing now that I should have. So I'm going to go back and add the crushed red pepper to the marinara. And I kind of eyeball it based on how I'm feeling at the moment. It's probably going to be about a 1/4 teaspoon for the 28 ounces of diced tomatoes, 28 ounces of crushed, and a cup of wine, and the 6 ounces of tomato paste. So if that gives you any idea about ratios. And I suppose when I get everything all baked and done, I might do a little live video about how you put it all together, and then I'll show you what I do with them in the oven, and then, yeah. I'm serving it tonight with 3-bean salad. I'm also happy to post the recipe for that if anybody's interested, just so that I can feel like I'm actually giving my family some vegetables in addition to all these carbs and fat and protein. So, I think that's it. Happy to answer any questions. I will post all the recipes when I'm not chicken fingered. Thanks for watching. You guys are great. Thanks for being patient with me. First time doing this. Bye.